for the faith.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wrestling for the Faith. My Lord, it has been a while, and I have a very special guest on here today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chad, not so much Gunner anymore, Lair.
Holy moly. Yeah, maybe Gunner in the heart, but never donning those trunks again, I guess. But here I am, man. Finally, we can come to terms after our big blow-off match and do a podcast together.
Man, I'm telling you, I think the last time that you were on was like May.
Yeah. Probably right before I started law enforcement school.
Yeah. And then so like, me and Coach did some, and I can't remember. I think I had Terry on and had the Stroops on some. But man, when I went back and looked at it, I was like, my Lord. So it has been nearly like 3 or 4 months since you've actually been on the podcast, and I think maybe 2. I don't remember. When was it that I called you out? July? So that was the last time that we did anything on the Wrestling for the Faith podcast at all.
I know, and I've had so many people asking me because they knew they hadn't been on the podcast since May. So when you called me out, we started building up for that match. There's so many, and you know too, bro, like close friends who know the wrestling business reaching out asking if we're okay, and a couple of buddies like, man, like we really missed the podcast. You know, that's something we look forward to every week. And I was like, well, you know. Yeah, Casey's got a wild hair up his rear end. So I'm just burying you the whole time.
Yeah. Well, so let's take this back. Let's go back, and discuss some of this and lead into Gunner's last match, which happened as this drops a couple of weeks ago now. So I don't know how much we want to get into the detail of the promotion and what we went through to actually have that match.
Yeah.
I'll let you make that call. But, okay. So, number one, I remember, you telling me, hey, my last one is going to be August 27th. And let's see. Did you say at that point that you wanted it to be me and you, or was it us tagging? I can't remember how that.
So, yeah, no. So let's talk about it. Yeah. Originally, first of all, I'll thank Alex Hyatt, our good brother, Alex Hyatt, for really pushing for this match, man, to happen, even though we went through some loopholes, and we'll talk about that. I'm okay with talking about it because it's not us bashing anyone. But yes, originally, Alex was like, hey, this is, the date for my final show. And last year at that show, I wrestled George South. And it's right when I, started going through the divorce. And I kind of knew that maybe I had about a year left. Anyway, so I kind of already knew maybe, I guess, April or so. That's where I wanted the last match to be because I knew the crowd was going to be there. I knew how they reacted last year to me because kind of, home state, home area. A lot of people know me there. And I was thinking, like, who would I want my last match to be with? Obviously, if I could have had it with the man who trained me, Abel Adams, Tommy Birch, that would have been great. But he's done, man. Like, he's retired. And so I was like, talking to Alex, he goes, who do you want it to be with? Or a certain name you want to work or something like that? I said, dude, honestly, no. I was like, Casey, I would love for it to be with Casey. And then I said, whether it's a tag match, us against someone, or a singles match, that's how I want to go out. I don't care about, working some name that really for you and me to work. For me, it was a sentimental thing.
Right.
And so he started working on it, man. So yeah, originally I think April or sometime I approached you maybe and said, what do you think about like working me in the final match? So it was a little filler I'd already put out there. I knew that I wanted you to be a part of it somehow, some way. Now we'll talk about the loopholes. The loopholes we kind of had to go around to get there, but that's what I wanted.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned it to me, and we start getting from the promotion. Well, what about y'all tagging against such and such, or what about y'all doing this? And at one point, I believe it was tossed around to do like a Forgotten Sons plus Casey, with you and Corey, or
Wesley,
Wesley, Weston Blake. Lord, what's he going by now?
Just Corey.
So you and him and me against three other guys, and then it was tossed around. Well, what about we throw James Storm in the mix? Former TNA tag champions, and so and I don't really know what the deal was there. I think, they were just trying to add something with pizzazz to your final match, and which is cool, but that's not exactly what you were wanting. Which
no,
I kind of believe when a man's going out, let him have what he wants.
Yeah, it's true. And dude, you know me, and Alex knows me, and Tracy and Brian, who run AML, run WrestleCade, they know me. I've never been one to go, nope, this is how I want it, and this is how it's going to go, or you don't have me. Like, that's just not who I am. But it got to the point where I was like deep down inside, dude, I knew that versus you is what I wanted. I knew that we could perform. I knew that we'd give a good story. And I just felt like throwing somebody else in the mix was, and that's how, with AML and WrestleCade, like they bring in names. So in their mind, they're thinking, okay, if we can bring in another name, it's just one more fan or one more ticket we can sell. And like, that is true to a certain aspect, but kind of just filling a hole. It would have just, if it was me versus you versus James, that would have been cool because James and I had a history. But to me, it still would have been just kind of I don't know. It wouldn't have been a story there. It would just been a filler match. It would just been like, hey, nice match. I'm glad that was my last one kind of thing. But with you and I being able to work, and we finally got down to that, because I just feel like once again, we always talk about the Lord. Like the Lord had it planned out a certain way, because everything they tried to do, everything they tried to fill just kept falling through. James couldn't come because of a movie deal. Corey couldn't make it. Corey recently lost his wife and things going on in his personal life. So, man, it just come down to the fact where they finally laid down and said, fine, we'll just let, Casey and Chad work. And Alex kept telling them, like, trust me, they're going to give you a match. They're going to perform. And I don't think that Brian or Tracy ever doubted the fact of, like, we're going to deliver. They just didn't know you. You know what I mean? They didn't know who you were, and they're afraid that people were going to go, well, who's this guy? We don't care about this match. When, hey, going back 2020 now, 2020 hindsight, we look, and that crowd was nuts.
Yeah.
And I remember Alex come up to me and just kind of put his arm around me after the match, and he said, Brian had just walked up to him, Brian Hawks, who helps run the show, and basically said, that was good. And Alex said, told you, So it's like, and not that for you and me, it was some kind of ego trip or ego boost we wanted. Bro, it's just what I wanted for my final match. And there was emotion involved. And Alex's wife, who was not a wrestling fan, who's only been to like 2 or 3 shows in her life, asked him after the match, like, you could tell there was something different in that match because of our physicality, because of our emotion. She goes, they were telling like a story in the ring. And she don't know what that means, but she understood that there was something there. So, man, it worked out the way it was supposed to. And looking back, I'm so happy, because I don't think I'd have been as happy putting those boots in the middle of the ring at the end of the night if it wasn't you and me.
No. It was a great night, great match. And so the lead up to this thing, whenever we finally, originally they had announced you and Storm, and the plan was to weasel me in there some way to do the triple threat. But I got with you and I said, hey, do you mind if I expose some of this stuff? So on my original 11 and a half minute expose or whatever this thing is that that I did and dropped on social media, I think it was back in July, there was a lot of emotion in it. I talked about how we could have went so much further. But you were burned out, you were ready to retire, and you're taking food off of my family's table, money out of my pocket, and
selfish. I'm selfish, man. That's what you're selfish. Oh man, I love it. I'll let you borrow some money, man.
Well, here's the thing. The way I laid that out, I pretty much spoke the truth
right
from beginning to end.
Yeah.
The only difference is I wasn't mad about it.
Right.
And I mean, it wasn't, we could have pressed on. I'm sure we could have got plenty more tag bookings. We could have had a good run, but I knew that your heart wasn't in it. And the thing is, in this business, and especially in a tag team, if one is in and one's not, or if in our situation, you're not and I'm halfway, then it's not going to work either way. Right. And so, I was kind of at the point where, and I don't know what's going on with my career right now. It's kind of nuts. I'm traveling more than I have in 10 years, and I'm not sure if I like it or not.
Yeah, for real.
But like, we could have had more. But if our hearts wasn't in it, and you are transitioning into a new career, and you had to have focus on that, you couldn't be split. You've already got, baby girl that you need to focus on, and then focusing on making this new career the next big thing for you. That's what your focus needed to be on. So you couldn't afford to be pulling off and hitting the roads all the time. And you were just burnt out on wrestling. I mean, I remember conversations 2 or 3 years ago when, a year or more before you ever left WWE, you just talking to me about how burned out you were. And I honestly, I don't know if you've ever really mentioned this, and I don't know if you want me to mention this, but you were ready to go well before they ever let you go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah. Yeah. You and I talked about that many times. I was just not happy anymore, man.
Yeah. There was, I see a lot of the crazy dirt sheet comments of how your attitude, or your this, or your that, or your opinions, or your faith, wedge in everything, and you were ready to go. That's the thing that people need to understand. You were ready to go before you ever got that call. But anyway, so the point is, you're burnout. In fact, I remember you telling me one time, whenever I leave WWE, I'm probably done.
Right.
And, then you did leave WWE, and you said, well, hey, we'll run this tag team for a little bit and have fun and, hit the road and have fellowship, and which that was what it was all about for us. It wasn't, we were going to these shows and working shows and then preaching nearby, so it was a ministry for us. So that was all great. So we had our run, we had our fun. And, if we would have wanted to press, we probably could have done a lot more, but neither one of us was really focused on that. So the whole 11 and a half minute dog gunner out rant that I had, which got a lot of people because it was true. It was from the heart. I just wasn't mad about it.
Right.
And so, we've got a lot of friends who, after the fact, they say, oh, well, we wasn't ever fooled. And Well, okay, people, but you're texting us 20 times each a week, asking blah, blah, blah. Listen, it's okay to admit that you've been worked.
You've been worked, yes. Oh, yeah, no, and it was good too, man. I think it was a good way to, especially because I hadn't been on the podcast in a month or so, or since May. And then when you put that out, it'd been quite some time. People are like, you know what, and then I didn't show up at the youth retreat because of obviously school. That's right. The truth, fact. But everybody was like, okay, now this is a little weird because these two guys started this together and now he's not there. And oh yeah, I mean, it was like I said, I got a bunch of buddies who listen. I don't think you know some of them, but they listen to the show. They were texting me over and over again. And a lot of times I wouldn't reply, or it'd be very short answer, like, I don't want to talk about it kind of thing. So it was good, man, because we kept it legit. We didn't comment on each other's Facebook post, or, even your wife would come in and she was very, very minimum about like liking my post, my Christian post or whatever. So she was playing the game for us and with us. So we never bantered back and forth as far as like social, other than our promos. We didn't overdo it because you and I talked about that. Let's not overkill it, because then it does look legit, or doesn't look legit. So man, I think we had something good built up with that.
Well, and for me, I knew there needed to be a story.
Yeah.
I wanted something that I could sink my teeth into, but I also felt like the fans deserve that.
Yeah.
And maybe even more importantly, I felt like you deserve that.
Right.
I don't think, even if it was with somebody like Corey or like Storm, just having a cold match, you just going out there and having a match and going through the motions and then throwing the boots in the middle of the ring and, blowing kisses and walking out, I don't think it would have meant as much. And to our credit, without a machine pushing us, now, AML did get on board and start sharing promos and stuff, which was great and helped out a lot. But, we started pushing this angle with it was just, okay, we're going to start throwing this stuff out here. We're going to build our own story and hope people latch onto it. And the thing is, I don't think I've ever wrestled in Salisbury. But the last time that I was up wrestling anywhere near Kannapolis or any of those areas was 10, 12 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So, really, most of those people, unless they're just diehard fans, a lot of those people wouldn't have known who I was. But because we started pushing this stuff and using social media and forcing it down everybody's throats, and I was kind of like forcing everybody to listen to me, even though you wasn't responding, which made it look even more legit, honestly.
Yeah.
And so by the time the match happened and I walked through the curtain, the people knew who I was. They knew what match was taking place, and they were ready to see it.
Right.
So,
right. And, yep.
Go ahead.
We built it well, man. I think, and sometimes me not replying was because school, having 12-hour days at school or something like that, and it's just like my brain's fried. But at the same time, I look at it now and I'm like, man, maybe that was good, because when I did reply, there was only maybe 2 videos I did actually for a reply, and then your last one was just me commenting like, "We'll just see you Sunday," kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that helped out. I think not only that, but Alex did a couple podcasts and radio shows, really hyping it up. The fact that AML got behind it finally, and the people coming into the show too, and I mean, there were some fans from out of state that came to see. I'm not just going to say us work, but they knew that it was been hyped up as my retirement match. So they already knew that, like, okay, he's going to retire to sit in some kind of, just one-off kind of thing or whatnot. But they knew the story going into the match that, I mean, I had a lot of fans coming up when I did the meet and greet, man, just, thanking me for this, thanking me for that, saying, hey, we can't wait to see tonight's match. And then I've had people email me saying that our match was the best match of the night. I don't know. I'm not saying that, but to know that people were emotionally involved, and you and I could tell by the crowd. I think there was one time where did something. I think it was a simple cross body we did, the duck cross body. And when I covered and kicked out, I was like, man, they love that. Like, you can just tell the emotion was there. So I think how we built it was perfect. I think it was overkill going back and looking now, because sometimes I think guys who are trying to build a feud on social media get a little too much to where it's too hokey. Mm-hmm. And you and I didn't do that, man. It's like we knew what we wanted and went out there, and for 20 minutes or whatever it was, the referee kept calling times, Casey. Remember when she said 90 seconds, boys? And I went, don't worry about it, ref. And she just finally gave up, but we didn't go but like probably 3 minutes over what we were supposed to go over. And but no, man, it was just, I don't know, almost 1,200 fans, I believe is what I heard, just packed, bro. And just for me to sit back and a couple of days after the match, I sat back and just kind of sat in the I guess the aftermath of it. I was like, man, that was really, really cool. You know, just to have that match almost basically August 24th of 2000, I had my first match, and then we wrestled August 27th of 2023. So 23 years, bro. And to go out on my own terms, like Nikita and I talked about it. He went out on his own terms. He didn't go out because he was injured or because he couldn't do it anymore. He just decided, I'm done. And that's me, man. I mean, I could do this another 10 years, you know, but regardless of what the internet says, how I've tarnished my career, you know, but no, I mean, just to be able to go out on my own terms, working with my brother, basically it's bittersweet, man. It's really cool.
It is. And it really did mean a lot. And that's where I went with the whole thing. Like, I knew you were busy, so I knew a lot of it was going to rely on me trying to push, but I didn't want to push too much because, you know, every promo that I did, with exception, you know, I did two that were just 100% like I'm mad, pouty face, you know.
Yeah.
And then the last two were kind of more wrestling promo like, but I felt like I had to get that in there. I had to get that attitude in there. But I wanted a story because for me personally, if I'm going to have my retirement match and I'm just going to go and have a cold match, I just don't think I don't think it would satisfy me.
Nope.
But even though it was only a one match and that was the blow off, I feel like that really, you know, we were able to get our creative juices flowing that one last time together. Mm-hmm. And, you know, really one thing in the match that I watched it back and it cracked me up because you were talking about how invested in the story and how hot that crowd was. Something that you don't see much anymore is a low blow getting the reaction.
Oh, yeah.
That ours did. Like, you know, we start the match hot and heavy. You double leg me. You're beating me from pillar to post. Big line over the top. Here we go. You're beating me all around ringside. You toss me back in. And as you're coming in, crossing the ropes, I kick that middle rope up into your crotch and you just fall. And I stand there and just like look at the people. And I mean, that was one of the loudest boos that I have ever heard just for something so simple.
So simple, man.
And so that kind of stuff right there is stuff that I love. And when they give you that kind of reaction, you know that, okay, they're invested here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and they were, man. And that is like, that's something you and I grew up on, is storytelling. Mm-hmm. Small details, the small emotions and stuff like that. And it's just, I didn't want a bunch of moves. Even you and I putting the match together. Like we could have easily went out there and done 10 minutes of nothing but falsies, but we literally had one or two a piece, maybe.
Yeah.
Like our finishing sequence was a matter of 4 big moves, but lasted over 8 minutes or so. Right. Because we took our time in between. You took your time with the chair. You took your time picking me up. You know what I mean? We were fighting back and forth and just, man, there's just something about that. You get a match that's 20 minutes long with 5 or 6 big moves, opposed to, you know, where someone just gets lost and doesn't remember the opening spot. I mean, they're going to remember what we did, you know, I believe. And, you know, it's going to be cool to go maybe next year when they do that show and I go back just to say hello to some folks or whatever. and maybe people were talking about it still. Like, so I mean, dude, I think we gave them what they expected, maybe more. And I'm very, very satisfied with it. I can't sit like sometimes I've had matches where I'm like, I'd have done this differently. I'd have done this differently. I wouldn't have done one thing different in that match, bro. One thing different.
No, and there's that one, that I told you like right after the match. But after I went back and looked at it, I thought, oh well, that looked pretty cool. Like the first spear.
Yeah.
You hit that spear and I was going to like backflip out on the floor. And just the way we landed, I couldn't get my legs up. I can't remember if your arm was over me or what, but I just reach like and pull myself from the bottom rope and pull myself outside. And I was like, it actually looked good. And I'm actually glad that it went off like that because it looked like that old, crafty veteran ring awareness thing where, this is my last little bit of energy, but I'm going to pull myself outside because he can't pin me out here.
Right. No, it was, to me, stuff like that is very like, we think at the time like, oh man, I didn't get to do what I needed to do, but then you see it. And it is like that crafty, like it reminded me of like a Tully Blanchard move where he would just yoke and pull himself out of the ring. You know what I mean? So it just, what you would do in a real fight, you'd try and scurry away somehow, some way if you had fight left in you. Right. Stuff like that's just, it's not planned. It just happens that way. And you being, who you are and doing this as long as you've done, you just know like, okay, I know I need to get out of the ring. And you're just getting yourself out in a natural way, really. And it just looked real.
Another one that is funny. and when I watch it back, I still feel it. The superplex spot.
Oh, yeah.
So,
oh, man.
When you crotched me,
yeah,
I took every bit of it.
I saw.
And I'm more so like in the rear crack region, than the frontal region, but it still shocked me. And like when you're climbing to give the superplex, I'm trying to get my footing, and then we've got the stupid ropes that kept spinning.
Man, they did.
But more so than that, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, that hurt. Yeah, I'm trying to get myself together after that. But that was another huge reaction.
Oh, yeah.
Such simple stuff.
Yep.
Like we've preached 1,000 times to a lot of these younger guys. When you go and you watch a match like this and you see, it's just the simple stuff. We did nothing huge. Neither one of us, I mean, we took bumps, but neither one of us took, off the top rope to the floor through 12 tables and 10 chairs and a dog.
Yeah. Don't need to do that, man.
And so, but the investment of the crowd and, to those folks who were there, thank you, because you guys made it. And when we were feeling that reaction, here's another thing too. I think it was the part where you back me into the corner and we start slugging at each other. Mm-hmm. But you looked at me and you said, "Oh, baby, I feel like working, bro." And I said, "You do."
You do. Yeah. I was bumping. I was like, what am I doing?
Man, yeah. And we started rolling, and I'm thinking, golly, I mean, you could go back to the top and have another 5-10 year run. I mean, the way you were working, here's the thing that I was really concerned about. And one of the reasons that I really felt like we had to have a story, because when you got a story going into the match, you're more invested, you're more amped up. And one of the big things, I was afraid, that the burnout would show. Right. Don't want to bump around too much. Just get in here and go through the motions. And I'm glad that we laid everything out the way we did, and the people were invested the way they were, and that spark was there.
It was.
I could see a very long program out of that if we really wanted to.
For sure.
That would be so much fun.
You said you wanted the Phil Shatter and the Mr. Intensity. I was like, well, I definitely got to bring this. I mean, it's my last one. Honestly, going into it, my body, felt really good. And even like I was thinking a couple of days after, I was like, man, I'm really not hurting too bad. The only thing that got me whipped was when my neck got caught on the bottom rope. But other than that, I was like, man, that's just the enemy trying to get me to get back into wrestling.
Hey, I'm feeling pretty good.
Because I had so many people. Who was it? Bubba Amrick, the one that ran the show I did in June, he was there at the show. There's a couple people, like, once they heard it was my retirement match, they said, so, like, is this really your retirement match, or we're going to get you coming back in a year? I said, no, brother. I said, I'm legit done. Like, I'm very content. And I've seen too many guys say retirement, have an awesome retirement match, and then come back and either get hurt or it's just mediocre. I don't want that, man. I don't want to be that guy who comes back and does it again and just because I'm happy with what we did. So, no, this is definitely it. I'm very, very content with where the Lord has me in life now. I've had a blessed career, man. Will I still do signings and stuff like Nikita? Would love to. If the options open, opportunities there, yes, because I can still share the gospel, man.
Yeah.
So but no, even your wife was like, man, y'all bumped a lot tonight. Yeah. I was like, we was feeling it, man. We was feeling it. So
well, and one of those things too, just some inside baseball here. Like when we're tagging, a lot of times, we're trying to see who's going to bump the least.
The least.
It's a competition and that's our way of one-upping each other. It's not who's going to do the sickest bump and who's going to do this amazing, 450 moonsault headbutt Hurricane Rana thingamajigger. It's right. Who's going to get over by bumping the least.
Oh, we did. Oh, man.
So this match you pulled out every one that you had left. So I'm glad.
I did. I don't have to bump ever again, bud, unless I choose to do so. But that ain't glad. So that's good.
I don't know where the Lord's got me. We've talked about it privately. I don't think I've ever mentioned it on the podcast, but like I believe it was April. I had the Lord, really nudging me, take a month off, step away for a little bit. So I did, like the whole month. And, just prayed into it. And I thought, okay, this is going to be it.
Yeah.
And honestly, like there was a period where I was like, I'm ready for this to be it. I'm done. I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
And pray through to that month and the phone's ringing and I'm like, I'll let you know later. I'm not taking anything right now,
Right.
And get through to the end of that month. And I honestly had some frustration and Jonna, she saw it on me one day toward the end of April. She come in and she said, you're not getting the answer you thought you were going to get, are you? And I said, no, I don't understand. Like I kind of want to be done.
Right.
At the time, I was like, I kind of want to be done. I don't know what's, and I thought that it was going to, he was going to say, all right, time to wrap it up. But instead, he didn't.
Yeah.
And he opened more doors. And I don't know. I mean, as long as the old body's holding up and the phone's ringing, then, maybe he wants me to be in line to be the next George South. I don't know.
You never know. Well, the thing is, man, like you mentioned, I don't want to forget what you just said about George, because look at what George does. He uses it as a ministry always, and man, and still, like to this day, bro. He since that show last year where I worked him, there has not been a day, and I'm not exaggerating, for a complete year where that man hadn't texted me, because he knew at that time I was really going through the dumps. And just encouraged me, even after our match, he was like, man, you guys went out there and performed. And he goes, I just want you to know I love you and I'm going to miss you on the road. And just a good man. So he may be, dude, because even though you and I have some very similar paths, like it doesn't mean that you and I are going to have the same path when it comes to wrestling or something, because you and I have talked about it. the Lord may be calling you to keep going on for a little bit, just to use it as a ministry. Well, I feel like over the past, especially year, I've been back and forth a little bit, but really prayed on it. But just to see the other doors that God's opened for me, not many phone calls to wrestle. The sheriff's office job, came to be with law enforcement and ministry opportunities like that. So it's like, okay, I see that the Lord it's time for that door to close. Maybe not completely, because I can still use it like Nikita does. Mm-hmm. But I just see how he's using you and I in maybe different paths to share the gospel in many different ways. You know what I mean? And will I miss wrestling? Absolutely. That's what I want to do since I was 5, dude. That's all I've lived for over 20 years. Will I miss taking bumps? Not really. But I will, man, because that Sunday when we did that show, just getting a chance to, pray with a few fans, talk to a few fans, or many fans, and then just see the kids that came up and were just, I don't know, man, like it reminded me of me when I was a little boy and I got to go to WCW and just captivated. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, golly, man, I am going to miss that. I'm going to miss, getting a chance to high five a child, walking around the ring. But at the same time, I have the opportunity to walk into a new career, healthy at 41 years old. That is, me to do it at 41 is pretty amazing. But it's going to be interesting to see what God does with you in wrestling. And if he closes the door, and I don't know what we got going on. I'm excited about getting a normal schedule instead of 6 days a week in school, where I can actually come up on a weekend and we do some ministry again together.
Yeah.
It's like, man, because I haven't done a lot. I've done some church speakings, but not a lot, just because of my schedule, dude. And I miss that. And I feel like the Lord has a lot he's going to use over the past year that I've went through to really reach many, many people, man. And I missed the retreat, but I knew that it was in good hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. We've got next year, and we're definitely looking forward to that. But
hopefully it's at the same spot, because the place y'all had this year looked amazing. The pool and all that, dude. That was incredible looking.
It was a lot of fun. And, we had, man, it was a lot of fun. And the Lord moved in mighty ways. Like, I remember, Saturday night, and maybe that's just the thing. Like, last year, Saturday night at the Rock, the place that we were at, we sat there and the Lord had those kids captivated. I think we sat there 3.5 hours.
It's like last year. I know.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm talking about, is last year. And then pretty much the same thing this year. And, like the Lord started using Terry to give words, to the youth. And man, there was one, I can't remember the exact word, but this girl is a friend of one of my daughters, and she just came. She wasn't there last year. I had met her one other time, so this ain't like she's real close to the family kind of thing, or at least us. But Terry had given her a word and was talking about she's meant to fly or something along those lines. And this huge, butterfly, I mean, as soon as he gets done speaking, flies right over. And we're in the middle of this is like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, we all just start laughing. It's like, well, if you had any question, if you didn't believe that the Lord was speaking a true word right there, or you don't believe in prophecy, here you go. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. That is crazy, man.
No. You need to get back to remembering kingdom normal.
Kingdom normal.
That's what that is.
Yeah, that's always been our saying, and it's true. And it's crazy to think that, we look at last year's youth retreat, and not just me, dude. Like, it's crazy how the trickle effect of things your family went through, things Terry has went through, and Jake. I mean, everybody that was a part of it went through some style of wilderness and season where, man, at times we probably thought we were suffocating. I mean, I know I can speak for myself, where the enemy was I guess it's okay to say, pissed off at what we were doing and what the Lord was doing through us. But regardless of how I fell back or how you fell back or whatever, we all continue to stand firm and continue to take that one step forward. And I can see the just growth, not only in my life, man, just the growth throughout the Kingdom family and what you guys did at the retreat this year. And there's no slowing us down, man. I mean, you and I were warned at Man Camp.
Yeah.
We were told, like, this is what I see you guys doing, but we were also warned there's going to be heavy attack, man. And I believe that. And to this day, we're walking testimonies of that, but we're walking testimonies of, but God, you know what I mean? Amen. But God, that he's going to continue to work through us and in us. And I can mention it here on the podcast that, like, over the past probably month or so, it's been on my heart for you and I to start getting together about like working with some broken men, like a broken men's ministry, man, because you and I have faced alcohol issues, anger issues. You went through anxiety and depression many times, and so have I. And it's something I think the Lord can use us to build up other men, bro, because, dude, it's crazy. I can count on almost both hands since last year how many buddies of mine, their wives have left, or the husband's been caught in cheating, and the marriages have been destroyed. And it's like, it makes me sick, man. It really does. It's like, what is going on? And if you and I could pump life into a group of 5 men, me, you, Jason, everybody, like, what kind of impact can we make? What kind of basically seed can we plant just to continue to grow? So I don't know, just on my heart, something you and I can talk about in the future and see where it leads.
Yeah.
But man, it's been good to be back on the podcast. I know everybody's asking. I told them, I said, yeah, next Friday we're gonna drop one. So here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. So man, it is, there's a lot of emotions in everything. And you talk about the last year. I mean, you had it rough going through the divorce and everything. And then, one thing too, and maybe this is something for people out there, like my cousin and his wife were in that wreck on Christmas Day on their way up here to my aunt's house down the road for, we were going to do our last Christmas get together of the week. And they got hit head on by, I believe it's been proven, a drunk driver, and, killed Dustin and Brittany. And then, the boys, their 3 little boys, spent a lot of time in the hospital and, getting through recovery on that. And that's one thing, like during that time, I didn't really feel like, there was times where I was like, Lord, why am I not as emotional as everybody else?
Right.
And I mean, it was one of those things where I felt like I was just empty,
Yep.
And I did not realize up until maybe the last month. And I think I started really kind of coming to terms with it, and the Lord kind of showing this to me at the Remnant Retreat, a month ago, that trauma affected me more than I realized.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I have, since then, just being transparent, kind of pushed back, kind of went into this wilderness. But I could never really put my finger on where am I? What am I doing? Why do I feel distant? Yeah. I felt distant to everything. But when you go through things like that, even though maybe you feel like you're making it okay at that time, those things still have a way of impacting you.
Yeah.
And, So that's one thing that I'm working through right now, and, praying and seeking the Lord about it, how to. I don't ever like to say get back to where I was, because I don't ever want to settle for where I was at one point. I want to be soaring above.
Yeah.
But don't ever take these little life lessons, no matter how hard they are. Don't ever take them for granted, and just push them to the side and not think that they're affecting you, because everything affects you. And it's something that you do need to pray through, and you need to work through, and you need to talk to people. You need to have people that you can, trust to talk to and to pray with. Because no matter how little or how big something is, these things do affect you. And if you just bottle them up and you just push them to the side, they'll eventually cause you a lot of pain and heartache.
Right. And don't ever take, as we're, wrapping up and whatnot, don't ever take those wilderness seasons for granted either, because, God didn't cause all that pain, per se, to come into your life. It was the actions of others. It was the actions of a man who got drunk, decided to drive, that killed, your family members. It was, we can go on and on about that, but don't take those wilderness seasons for granted, because at one time I was in a hole where I was thinking, why, instead of going, okay, Lord, what can I learn from this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I do now. It's like, you're going to feel like me. There's times I felt like a failure. I've felt broken. I still sometimes get angry, not anger that I'm lashing out at people, but anger inside, to where I have to just go to the Lord and say, Father, I know this is natural, but what can I do to grow from this? And I've grown over the past 6 months, especially just my relationship. And like you said, I don't ever want to go, man, I want to get back to how I was, because I want to be better than I was. I want to be higher than I was at man camp, or coming out of man camp, or coming out of the youth retreat. Like, I want to be soaring higher than any of that. But, we tend to beat ourselves up at times because of the past, and God's just trying to teach us through that. You know what I mean? And like you said, bro, just as well as me, you can vouch that for a while I shut myself off from people. Mm-hmm. That was not the right thing to do. And I see that now, and I reach out many, many times when I'm going through just a small situation, and just say, hey, I just need some prayers today, man. And that's what it's about, bro. It's just that kingdom family, not only you guys, but other friends, Tony Settle and Alex, and Lord, I mean, I can name so many. Yeah. And just to see the people that God's brought into my life that are like prayer partners for me. It's really cool. It's really cool to see what he's doing. So don't take those wilderness seasons for granted either, because they do teach you. You can go through the scriptures and see all the men and women that grew, and God used those seasons and catapult them into their purpose in life. So that's what I'm at, man. That's where I'm at. Just chasing after him a little harder each day.
Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of people, they want to go into, well, if a loving God, why would he allow this? Why would he allow that? Blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing. When we realize that our Heavenly Father is good.
Yeah.
And everything that he does is right.
Right. Yeah.
That's hard to accept when you're going through some kind of trauma. You're going through a divorce. You're going through loss of family members. You're, whatever it may be. It's hard to accept. Like, how in the world could this be right?
Yep.
But everything he does is good, and everything he does is right. And even when we don't see it at that moment, he's got a plan on the other side of it. Like with my cousin situation, my aunt, uncle, and his brother, they have launched the 24/7 movement. And, it's something that spawned out of that. And it's awareness of distracted and drunk driving and, you know, being conscious of your surroundings and, you know, don't take other people's lives in your hands, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're doing great things. They're getting that thing launched. And so, and the blessing that has come out of, even though it's hard to say, the blessing that has come out of that situation. I mean, those three boys are such a blessing to everybody. And I mean, they are honestly three miracles. Two of them, at least, they didn't expect to live. And praise the Lord.
Yep. Right. Amen.
But I mean, you can't always see what he's doing, but he's got a plan and he knows the future.
Sure.
And it's a lot better life when we realize we're not supposed to be in control of everything. We're supposed to let go and be blown about by the wind of the Spirit.
That's it, man. That's it. And just let him lead us and guide us, dude. And that's, man, there's no, I think no better way than to close it down today with that, man. Just let God lead you. Let him control your every step.
Amen. Well, it's good to be back. Good to have you back. I'm not mad at you anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to fight you anymore. We're good now. Praise God. Let's get back to Wrestling for the Faith, man. Dude, real quick, this is, you know, when you contacted me in June of 2021 or whenever it was, and it's crazy to see how the Lord's used this platform. And even more because I've been off since May, of how many people's reached out and like, man, we really miss you guys on the podcast. And it was something we listened to weekly. And that just goes to show that, like, God's hand's in it, and God's not closing this chapter of Wrestling for the Faith. He's saying, no, you continue to use this. And well, that's what we need to do, man. We got to be obedient. So, yeah. But I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate you being obedient in 2021. And, you know, look at how God used us even through the midst and chaos of last year. It's just, he's so good. I can't wait 5 years from now to look and go, man, look what God did. You know, look what he did. But I love you, brother. I appreciate you as always.
I love you, man. And I appreciate you. And thanks, everyone, for listening. Hey, be sure to share the Wrestling for the Faith podcast. Let everybody know that we're back. Yes. Hopefully we won't be as sporadic.
Should be good. I graduate. Matter of fact, I take the state exam today. If this drops on, you know, Friday, September 8th. So I'll be back to a normal set schedule where we can start getting everything on a regular basis. So there we go.
Amen. All right, everybody. We love you. God bless you. Hey, you have any questions, thoughts, comments, praise reports, or prayer requests? Email us, wrestlingforthefaith@gmail.com. We love you. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.